right, Mr. Chairman, we are live.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting of the City of Lake Worth Beach Historic Resource Preservation Board regular meeting of Wednesday, October 13th, 2021. Can we get a roll call, please?
Sure. Judith Fox.
She said here.
Hi, Judy.
Here.
Chip Guthrie.
I'm here.
Bill Feldkamp. Ricky Martin.
Here.
Steve Pickett.
Here.
And Bob Durenzo.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Could we have a pledge of allegiance, please?
Pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Are there any additions, deletions, reordering?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
I would like to, I'd like to add an addition for discussion under departmental reports.
Planning issues.
Excuse me?
Can be added under planning issues? I think that's a little bit better for your item.
Under guidance, I'm going to put under planning issues, discussion of nonconformities 25.5-3. And just for discussion tonight. Can we get approval of the agenda as amended?
Make a motion to approve the agenda. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, could I get approval of minutes, please?
Make a motion to approve. Go ahead.
There were no minutes included in this packet.
There were no minutes. Okay.
All right. And we will move on to swearing in of staff and applicants.
You're going to provide testimony this evening and not public comment. If you can please turn on your video and unmute yourself and to be sworn in. Ms. Stanley, what item are you here for? I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. We were trying to connect to the video. I am here for Sandy Clayton. Her address is, bear with me one moment.
The driveway. Yes. Okay, that's fine. All right, Sherry.
Okay. Everybody, please unmute. Turn on your video. Mr. Lorenzen, please unmute.
320 North Lakeside.
Mr. Lorenzen, you have to open, so close one and utilize the other, please. And just unmute one or the other, whichever you're going to use.
If you have two, you have to turn off the sound on one. Because the sound. Yeah, you might have your cell phone on because I can see your ceiling in one of them.
I don't think we can hear you. Saying.
We can move forward, and when Mr. Lorenzen's ready to give testimony, I can swear him in at that point. Let's do that. Everybody else, please raise your right hand. Mr. Lorenzen, we'll swear you in when you give testimony. Do you swear and affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any board disclosures to discuss, Mr. Pickett?
No. None.
Okay,
No, sir.
Lorenzo, Ms. Fox?
No.
All right, can we move on to unfinished business, Hrpb project 21-001-00222?
That's it.
So while this is Mr.
To
Lewis.
discuss, Mr. Pickett? No. Okay. President, Ms. Fox?
No. Yes.
All right, can we move on to, I hate my voice. God, does I sound that bad?
Yeah,
No.
can't get me, I'm behind plastic.
So we'll have to swear Mr. Lawrence in,
Issue
and he's
big.
working on his technical issues. Mr. Lawrence, you still currently have two versions of, so it's unless you have one you echo. So this is a certificate of appropriateness for the construction of a new addition, approximately 1,790 square feet for the single family residence located at 320 North of Drive. It's located in the single family residential zoning district and is a contributing resource in the Lucerne local historic district. The applicants are Per and Rachel Lauritsen. You can see the location here. You may recall it from the previous meeting. So in summary, originally saw this application at a conceptual review in May. It came before the board on September 8th. The board asked to see the conceptual drawing of the reorientation of the gable roof at that time, the 15th. The board reviewed the conceptual. So I'm just going to go ahead and ask everybody if they're if they are not on this item, if they could make sure that they mute themselves. Getting a lot of feedback. So at the September 15th meeting, the board reviewed the conceptual plans, which included attachment C. And then the board recommended to reduce the height of the addition connector, increasing the size of the faux shuttered openings, and adding windows to the west elevation to avoid a blank facade. You may have received an email today showing an additional revised conceptual drawing that was submitted to staff after the packet was published, and so that was not included in the application. So you can see here, this is the information from the property file. The building was constructed between 1925 and the 1930s. There is no original drawings in the city property file. And however, there is this property card from 1943. So by 1943, the garage was erected at the front of the building, which has since been converted to habitable living space and serves as a front entry point facing North Lakeside Drive. There have been alterations over time, including installation of an asphalt shingle roof, the replacement, and various site alterations. So you can see here are the current photos of the property. You may recall these from previous presentations. Here's the property survey. This is in a flood zone. So, however, because this is a lateral addition, it does not constitute a substantial improvement. So a floodplain variance was not required for the addition. Here's a proposed site plan. It's a proposed two-story building with a connector to the principal structure. The floor plans are in your packet. And then here are the proposed elevations that were revised and that were submitted with your packet for review. This is the revised elevation in the backup. And then here is the revision that was sent in the subsequent email showing the larger windows.
Can you go back one?
Sure. So you can definitely see that the windows here
There,
were enlarged in the revision,
yes.
and then these are the shutters.
Oh, my Lord.
Okay, and then the shutters will no longer be there?
No, the shutters are there.
Oh, okay.
Windows are bigger.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, he needs to turn.
Big improvement.
Yeah, big improvement. Very nice.
Mr. Lawrenson, if you can hear, if you can turn off your cell phone, because you've got two open and that's what's causing the feedback, if you can hear me.
Yes, I'm sorry. I had a bad echo in it previously, and so I had to turn off the volume on one and boot up the Zoom on another one. So hopefully I've now eliminated it, though. Are you able to hear me all right?
Now we can.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, we can hear you.
can you hear me okay?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had the wrong one muted. But I do have a severe echo still from this one. But hopefully I can understand what you're saying.
Okay. Is that the end of the city's presentation?
Not quite.
Okay.
So you can see here is the proposed streetscape. This is obviously it's the previous version. So you can see when the addition was not lowered there. So you can see the change in lowering it.
Right.
It's a big improvement.
I don't know why this is doing this. So, basically just since the PowerPoint seems to be acting weird, the applicant has incorporated the board's recommendations. So at the meeting, staff is recommending approval. And there are conditions of approval in your packet. And of course, I will pull up Mr. Warren's revised drawing. So because it does reflect, the elevation does reflect the larger windows on that connector. And it reflects the reduced height as was the direction of the previous board and the board of the previous meeting.
No, I mean, everything.
Should we go through the conditions of approval then?
Absolutely.
And are those recent changes reflected in the condition?
So they are not, so you'd have to make a recommendation so that the plans at building permit would be revised to reflect the revised elevation submitted. It was submitted after the staff report was completed and after the deadline. So that's this elevation.
And that would apply to the 10th condition, I think, right? No, that's what it says already. It says that they will be increased in size.
So the 10th condition is there. So they wanted to provide the elevation to reflect staff's conditions of approval. Staff let them know that they were going to require that. They were able to it. They wanted to provide the drawing to you by the public hearing.
Are those more than 4 light decorative pattern? The depiction.
Yes.
So we need that changed as well.
Well, what if we say plus plans to reflect staff recommendation and revised elevations?
So hold on, let me go to.
I'm just trying to make it. I think we're all in agreement. We went over this so many times.
Yeah, it's sort of.
Beating the horse
Well,
a little bit.
horse needs to be beaten once in a while.
Okay.
So
Aaron, am I confused? Is number 17 have 3 shutters over the garage and number 18 only has 2 shutters over the garage?
They're all 3.
Yeah, there's 2 shutters here
this has 3.
and
then
there's
this has
3.
Right, so the previous one.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Para, it's not working. If you want to, if you're able to pop down, you can feel free to pop down, but because you have the 2 sessions open, you're gonna have to disconnect from one of your sessions because otherwise you're not gonna be able to speak.
And disconnect the one that's facing the ceiling right now.
Disconnect the ceiling one, or just disconnect both and reconnect
You've
one.
got a camera facing the ceiling.
I'm sorry, are you speaking to me?
Yes, yes. On that device, can you close that device that you just talked on?
Let me just say.
Is he having words for me there?
You just remove.
Okay.
Does that eliminate it?
No.
Can you talk now, Mr. Lawrence?
If you speak now, we can hear you, Mr. Lawrence.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can't see you.
Yes.
Your camera is facing the ceiling.
I don't know where.
You just
I'm-
moved.
It's on your
just-
cell phone.
I'm staring at my screen, so I don't know where that camera is, frankly.
Okay,
Let
It's
me
on your
see.
left. There you go. You just
Whenever-
covered it.
Yeah, is that your cell phone you're putting your finger over?
All right, I'll do it like this. Are you able to see me now?
Yeah, you're upside
You
down.
look wonderful. Upside down though. Turn it upside down.
All right. Now my house is upside down, but
That's what-
so just to clarify, if I understood you correctly, there was a question about the 2 versus 3 faux windows on the west facade, and our intention is to go with 3 windows, the faux windows.
And that appears to look very nice.
It does.
So what we can do is, you can modify, the condition, the staggered, the staggered windows on the west facade, don't reflect that particular, oh, yeah, sorry. Those,
I'm sorry, but I'm confused. I do not know what we're voting on.
so in the conditions of approval, there's the last condition of approval, which says the staggered windows on the west facade shall be increased in size while maintaining vertical proportions. A 4 light decorative pattern is recommended. So you can see the applicant proposed a different decorative light pattern. If you want to go with the 4 light decorative light pattern, or you want to go with what they proposed, then just modify that condition accordingly.
Is that on the east that you're talking about?
On the west facade, which is
Facing the road.
Facing the.
facing the
Okay, all right.
It's these 3 windows here, Judy.
Okay, thank you.
I think they look fine. Yes.
Especially when they increase the size of them. Okay. Well, anybody want to try a motion?
Sure. I move to approve HRPB project number 2100100222 with staff recommended conditions of approval for certificate of appropriateness, COA for a plus or minus 1790 square foot addition to the single family residence located at 320 North Lakeside Drive, based upon the competent substantial evidence in the staff report pursuant to the City of Lake Worth Beach land development regulations and historic preservation requirements, and the plans are to reflect the staff's recommendation and revised elevation as viewed in tonight's meeting.
And that would also include a modification to the last previously recommended staff condition. Specifically, I would modify the 4 light decorative pattern, just for the record.
As stated.
I have a motion on the floor.
Second.
Second by Ricardo. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Mr. Lawrence.
Thank you very much.
Pleased to meet you.
Have a nice evening.
You're welcome.
Thank you, too. Okay, on to unfinished business. The HRPB project 21-00100157.
like the old chairs better. Yeah, I know. But there's no thing, oh, here it is. But it doesn't.
I agree.
Ready all the time. Yeah.
It's not. I'm just gonna have to like. Okay, so we're gonna try it over here. That's it. Okay. It appears to be working on this picture. So we're gonna go with that. Okay. So the item before the board is a certificate of appropriateness for the installation of a new circular asphalt driveway off of South Lakeside Drive, which is located at 726 South Palm Way. The subject property is a contributing resource in the South Palm Park Local Historic District and is also located in the single family residential zoning district. You can see the location map here, and the owners are Patrick and Sandra Lane. Just a little background, this came before staff in February as a building permit. There were some recommendations provided. The board wanted to, the applicant wanted to bring their request for the board before the board because it was not consistent with staff recommendations. At the June 9th meeting, the Hrpb reviewed the request and continued it to the state. The Hrpb members recommended that the applicant work with staff to develop a parallel parking option. Recall. You can see that the structure is an Hrpb, started in 1952. This is the structure. The drive is actually at the rear of the property. This is a double frontage lot. And you can see on your left that there's a driveway on the on South Palm Way and also this additional circular driveway on South Lakeside Drive. There are still, and you can see the existing curb cuts. The driveway itself has fallen into a substantial disrepair. So you can see here, this was the June 9th request. So it was this general configuration that you all asked to kind of see we can reconceptualize as a parallel parking area with some green space on the side. They have brought back additional landscaping, but have generally not modified the configuration of the driveway. So this is the plan in your packet, is the October 13th packet. Again, here are the current photos. The zoning analysis, it's generally consistent. It's just it's just a lot of pavement. So driveways are something that is reviewed under the historic preservation guidelines. Driveways are typically recommended to be located to the side of the house unless leading directly to a garage or carport. Typically, driveways are not more than 1 car wide unless the garage is. So again, there are other properties in the area. There's not a lot of driveways on South Lakeside Drive. This is not a primary facade, but there's not a lot of landscaping screening in the rear, which is why staff had concerns, and there's a lot of pavement back there. So staff is not recommending approval of this. The revised driveway design is not consistent with the historic preservation design guidelines. And also the applicant did not address the recommendations by the board during this meeting. So there are the potential motions. I'm going to go ahead and stop this screen here, and I'm going to promote the applicant or the applicant's representative, Stanley, so that she can speak about this particular.
Ms. Stanley, are you there?
Yes,
Yes, we're here.
I'm here, and this is also John. We are the owners of Trinity Asphalt Paving.
Okay, and you're representing your
This is- And yes,
representative Clayton tonight?
yes,
Okay.
we are.
Did you understand that what the board's recommendations were at the last meeting?
Yes, and it's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. You can't have a straight in parallel. The whole reason this lady's doing it, she's an elderly lady. She wants to be able to pull in and not have to pull up and do a 3-point turn. The way we designed it, like I said, they're saying parallel parking. You literally can't. You'd have to. It costs way too much more. It would literally double the cost. The job's already $4,000. It would literally double the cost. We're actually paying out of our pocket to put those shrubs in because you guys require shrubs. The ladies, there's no other option to do it. We just can't do anything. I just figured asphalt with tree shrubs is better than nothing. The way it looks now looks terrible. So I live in the acreage. I don't live out there, so I don't drive by it every day. I'm sure you guys all live there and you drive by it and see it. What we're proposing is a circular driveway, a narrow circular driveway. There'll be screenings, there'll be shrubs. She wants to keep her pelican statue. It's definitely an improvement. I understand you're a historic district, so you guys have certain codes and criterias, but this lady's elderly. She needs a way to get into her house. I don't know why she doesn't use her front driveway. She doesn't want to have to back in. She's scared of getting in a wreck. I said, I'm not sure what the reason is, but the parallel parking that they asked on the last meeting is absolutely impossible. It can't be done.
I think the board was leaning towards having her return it to the original circle driveway, but there's a fence in the way.
We can still do it with the fence there. We wouldn't have to remove the fence. We can still do it. If you look at the thing, so that corner where we originally.
Get the photo back up, Aaron, please. Hold on a sec, sir.
Can we zoom in on that?
Ours is right here.
I know, so I can point with them for them.
No, I don't think they can see that.
No, it's one up.
Okay, so that was the one you have right there is your, oh, hold on, sorry.
There.
Okay, so can you see my marker or my arrow or no?
No,
No.
that's on yours.
Okay,
So what depiction, what is the, are you looking at the site?
that one right there, that one right there with the green, with the cocoa plum we're going to put in.
Okay,
It's going to spruce it up a little bit. It's going to make it so it's not an asphalt jungle. Like I said, the lady's scared to back out of her driveway on South Palm Way. She's literally said she's almost gotten a wreck multiple times. So if we do a parallel, there's no way this lady's going to be able to do a parallel parking, first of all. Second of all, it would be impossible. You'd have to close in that whole thing, and where the two concrete aprons are, you'd have to connect them. And I doubt you guys are going to let us put asphalt in the front of that concrete. That will look more, stand out more than anything else. So what we did is the lady doesn't want to do any plans. She doesn't want to pay for the plan. She's just a particular customer. So I said, I will put the cocoa plum in there. They're cheap, they're easy, they're hardy. It will give it some green space. It will make it and break it up so it's not all like a parking lot out back. So the whole point of this lady's doing is so she can get in and turn around. She can still turn around with that. She tried with her car. I went out there a few months ago when she drove her car, drove in and out. And it will be screened with cocoa plum. The cocoa plum's not going to be 5 foot tall. We're going to get 3 foot tall cocoa plum. So by the pelican and on the edges, they're not going to be 10 foot tall or 6 foot tall. They'll be 3 foot tall. So she'll still be able to drive around. But there would be no way to put a parallel parking there without closing in the apron and the two concrete, where the green spaces where the Pelican is, there's no way to do it.
Well, the point was they wanted to screen it. So what is it really?
Yeah, we do, even if we could get away with the parallel, you're not screening it.
Okay, excuse me just a second, Aaron. Do we have criteria for circular driveways anyway on a particular size lots?
The criteria in the design guidelines just really call for the driveways to be configured in a historic configuration, which is not a circular driveway. Typically, if we have an existing circular driveway and it's just being like repaired in some way, then we usually allow for that to be repaired. But when it's essentially ripped up and it's kind of like starts the clock over, so we ask for a compliant, typically a compliant one, which is kind of why they're here. Is that it basically needs to be redone because it's asphalt. And so,
Even though I just want to make this comment that even though we did put up the sign showing that this was a plan, the sign doesn't show anything, because I contacted a few of the neighbors. This is in my neighborhood. And I don't particularly care for the design of the driveway whatsoever, because it's not concrete, it's not paver. This is a historic area. I would like to see something like that done. If they're going to do it in pavers, maybe that, this asphalt, and I'm sorry, that you don't do pavers, you do asphalt.
No, we do pavers and we do concrete. It's just that job in pavers would be 10 grand. You know what I'm saying? So that's the issue.
But you stated she's spending 7 now.
She's spending 4.
Oh, 4.
He's buying the boat.
So yeah, 4. So 4 is a big difference than 10.
But the issue that the board had was that if you look at the original site plan that showed the original circular driveway, it is configured quite differently, and I don't see how a car could actually turn around in there, but it looks like you could fit 2 cars in diagonally and they pull out or whatever. I understand her issues with it. Okay, what I was about to say is that I contacted several of the neighbors around there and let them know and showed them what was being proposed. And the comments that I got was that they don't care. They're not going to see it. It is on the back side of her property. I tried contacting some of the people that this is really across the street from their front yard. And the only people that responded said that they really didn't care. And they are people that pass this all the time. That's like I said, I don't care for the design of it. And I know Sandra, I know of Sandra. She's not, we don't converse or whatever, but she's been using the front driveway for all these years. She's been there for many, many years. I'd like to hear what the other board members have to say.
I like what we proposed last month, honestly. If we gave her an alternative and a few bushes.
Doesn't seem to be much different, and I still have an issue with whether or not it's safe to pull in like that, and the point of view of being able to see back out when you're trying to pull back out on the street again. Does it even meet city standards for a driveway?
Yes, it would be city standards for a driveway as far as the size and dimensions.
No, but as far as other cities that I've looked at, the driveway is supposed to meet the curb at 90 degrees or close to it. You're not supposed to sort of swoop in and swoop back out again. When you pull into this driveway and then you want to pull back out again, you're going to be looking like this way back over your shoulder to make sure nothing's coming. And then and we did ask for some screening or whatever like that, but that's just going to exacerbate the problem. If it was a proper circular driveway like it's showing in the historical document.
Well, if they'll let us pave everything, but they wanted.
So in other words, I'm just trying to get this straight. So a proper circular driveway, you're saying rip out the fence and bring the driveway back and make it a bigger driveway?
If she were proposing a circular driveway, that looks circular.
In according to what historically was there, then that will be what she'd have to configure. In my mind.
If she were putting that back, correct me if I'm wrong, if she were putting it back the way that it's shown in that site plan, the survey, she would not need to come in front of the board, right?
The property's changed.
Basically, the driveway is no longer longer in place. So yeah, that's what it did look like a long time ago, but that driveway hasn't been there for a while. So she would have to meet the current standard. So if this last configuration, what they proposed is similar to what the last thing was. It's just that the asphalt is all beaten out and it has big potholes. So, you know, we don't have a specific record that this was a permitted work when it was installed. And it was obviously originally installed in this configuration many, many years ago. So,
Well, the reason I would say that you guys would probably allow it, or I thought you would allow it, was because you have 2 concrete aprons that she didn't put in, that the city put in. So if she didn't have 2 concrete aprons there, I could see your point. But because she has 2 concrete aprons, and I'm sure the other people on that street, if their backyard, front yard, they only have 1, but she has 2 right there. So it shows, and you can see on the current photo, there is asphalt there. It's not good asphalt, but there is asphalt there.
But do you see what the reason that they put the 2 curb cuts, aprons in is because she historically had a real circular drive. And that's depicted on that survey that you're looking at.
yeah, so I mean, obviously, like, you know, if it's super easy and it meets the guidelines, you guys don't see it, right?
Right, exactly. The only reason it comes before us.
5% of all cases are just handled by staff in a permit process.
Right.
You know, so if you felt the screening was adequate and that the existing configuration of the driveway and that it was if you wanted to consider it a substantial repair and that their screening would be enough to shield it, but you're gonna have to make findings that it's consistent or that this particular circumstance is consistent.
See, in my opinion, they're trying to treat this as though as though Ms. Clayton's property butts up to an alleyway. Like I know many neighborhoods in Palm Beach and in West Palm Beach that have alleyways, and you can kind of pull in diagonal, or not even diagonal, you pull in parallel and park behind your garage or park along the back fence or something along those lines. But this is on, this actually faces Lakeside Drive in South Palm Park, which is a historic district. And so this is not really an alley. And I don't, I think it kind of does a disservice if we don't put in something that looks nice from the street. And I wish I could see, I mean, we gave a little bit of guidance trying to help out with something on this to get it through for our neighbor and our resident, but nothing happened. I mean, you brought back virtually the same exact thing again with some cocoa plum bushes.
Well, the thing that you guys suggested is absolutely physically impossible.
Well, then she wouldn't be able to do it then. We have to.
So that's fine, but what you guys propose you'd have to rip out the concrete apron, a concrete cut, and it'd be a parallel parking roughly 30 foot in, and she'd be moving over exactly almost 15 feet in off the thing, because you're not going to let her do from between the concrete where we propose a cocoa plum. She's not going to be allowed to pave that. You guys wouldn't allow that because that belongs to the historic district or the city or the town. So she would literally have to drive over and be a straight in. It would make no sense. I understand your guys' point is historic district, and I understand you're doing your job and you think what's best. So it's I live in the acreage. I don't see it. So I understand your point. I can tell you I can give you a dozen addresses where we've done jobs like this, and like you said, it has been in Town Lake Park or Palm Beach Island or areas where they do Delray, where they're small, short, close to the road. But it's still a circular driveway. If you didn't have the concrete approachway there, both of them, I could see your guys' point, but because you have two concrete approaches and there was an existing asphalt driveway.
We're not denying that.
Are there other asphalt driveways around here? I mean, I think what you're talking about is if we did it with another material, that it is more aesthetically pleasing and historically correct, it could be fine. You can't have those plants in the middle too high. It's a blind spot. She can't see. I mean,
Well,
this just looks like.
So I think we're getting a little outside of our format.
Thank you.
I know that it's the board discussion and now, so if you want to, Mr. Chairman, leave and ask questions of the applicant or staff.
Okay, staff is recommending against this, and we've batted it around a little bit. Anybody else have any other comments or questions from the board?
My concern is the fact that they already don't like the configuration it's in already. And if we prove it, we're basically cementing that, pardon the pun, in place. Well, we're approving it and saying now it can be here forever. So
I think your point was that it's really not the safest configuration.
I don't think it is.
Mr. Martin?
I don't like it from the very beginning. I think we should be concerned with all the backyards facing lakeside and be very careful in approving driveways or any encroachments onto the street because it'll change the whole look of the area, which is primarily vegetation from times that I've driven by there. So I see the fence, and the way the drawing is, I don't see the fence standing there and blocking all the view, because that would be the sole item that would really prevent it from being seen from the street is the fence, and then she'll have the gates, right?
No. So the asphalt would be on the outside of the fence. It wouldn't be on the inside of the fence.
Outside of the fence. Okay.
Yes, sir. So it would be from the fence, from the center of the property to fence, 11 foot out, and would tie it back into the two existing asphalt pads where it meets the concrete.
Yeah, so it will be all asphalt, what you have there, right between the street and the fence.
Correct.
No.
Except around the Pelican.
Well, you have this L-shaped on the bottom. Yeah, I see it. It's like an L-shaped, which was mentioned that so she could do a three-point turn, which will be all that that side of that property. There would be all black asphalt with very little plantings. I don't like how it would look, I hate to.
No, it's fine. Like I said, you're not hurting my feelings at all.
No, it's just
on my back.
One wants to be sensitive to the situation, but it would change that entire street. And then once you approve one, my always concern is once you approve one, there's always a next door neighbor that may want it. And the next thing you know, you have a whole bunch of canopies and cars parked.
No, I completely understand. Like I said, the only reason I would say where you guys would be more likely to approve this one, as like I said, I already said it twice, is those concrete aprons. No other driveway on that street has two concrete cutouts like that. Where the concrete aprons are, no other driveway on that street has those. So there's already an exception to the rule because she has two concrete cutouts.
But if she were to come in front of us and say that she wanted to put a new driveway conforming with our guidelines, it wouldn't even make it this board. She would be using one of the aprons, and she could leave the other one there, and she could put in a driveway. Anyway, does anybody like to take a shot at a motion?
So we can leave the concrete apron there and just pave this straight? And
No,
plant there?
whatever. If we don't do the job, whatever. That's how much aggravation.
All right, we back out.
I move to deny HRPD project number 21-001-00157 for a COA for a new circular asphalt driveway for the property located at 726 South Palmway, because the applicant has not established by competent substantial evidence that the application is compliant with the City of Lake Worth Beach land development regulation and historic preservation requirements.
Have a motion second by Mr. Dorenzo. And any further discussion? Call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. The application is denied. I'm sorry about that. I wish.
Like I said, don't get off my back. It's fine. It's no big deal for me.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, on to new business, HRPB project number 21-14. Consideration request for mural installation for the contributing structure located 17 South L Street. Located mixed use East MUE zoning district and the Old Town Local Historic District.
Sorry, Mr. Harris, I promoted you early. I apologize.
Okay.
So again, this item is a consideration of a request for a mural installation. The address is 17 South L Street. The subject property is located in the mixed-use zoning district and is in the Old Town Local Historic District. The property owner is Jack Turner, Calculated Properties. It's located on the west side of South L Street, located between Lake Avenue and First Avenue South. Basically, it came to us through a code compliance case. The mural was installed without a mural approval. So the property owner contacted historic preservation staff and worked through the process, and so now they're here before you. This is the current lot condition. Here's a picture of the mural. This is on the building on the north side, facing east. Facing east. And it's interesting is that a lot of this mural is actually covered by the property's fence, which moving backwards, you can kind of see here. And then this is that open sculpture garden, which is to the right of the fence is the open sculpture garden, which is also to the right, which is north of the property. And then the mural is located on the northern wall of the subject building. And it looks like this. And here's another look at the mural. It's kind of hard to get a picture straight on because of the fence.
Right.
So it originally had a commercial message entitled Parakeet Suites. That message has been removed. The last time that I saw it, I did not see the mural there. So staff recommended the mural installation subject to the condition that the commercial message is removed. So just in case they add it back, we recommend we just leave that in there so it's clear that there is no commercial message for Parakeet Suites. The Parakeets, staff is recommending approval of the mural. Obviously, they're going to need to enter a mural removal agreement. This is a retroactive approval.
Thank you, Ms. Sita. Is there anyone representing the owner?
No, not online today.
Any comments from the board?
Cool mural.
I agree with it as long as it meets the conditions of approval. Just get rid of the signage
Looks like
part.
they've already taken the Parakeet Suites off, right?
Yeah.
They took it off.
Yeah, it was in one of the backup, but in the site photos that were taken, it wasn't in those. And I don't remember when I was walking downtown, I remember looking for it and not seeing the messaging. So, but retain the condition just in case.
Retain the condition.
Quick question, is there a prohibition against a mural on the side and back of your home? If it's not visible from the street?
Well, this is a commercial property. So,
Oh, it's own commercial.
well, no, it's a commercial business. It's a mixed use zoning, but it is a, I believe it's a Airbnb, not like a,
Can't be an
it's a
Airbnb.
vacation rental. Yeah, that's a non-vacation rental.
It's a vacation, oh,
It's a residential
one
property.
of those.
If you want to paint a mural in your back of your house and nobody.
Yeah, but how did this come about? I'm curious.
So it came through a code enforcement case.
Meaning that somebody called
Put a
it.
sign on it.
Somebody called that there was a commercial sign.
Yeah, basically it's a hotel. It's
They
a
were
mixed-use
advertising their,
district.
Parakeet cottages.
Okay.
they're advertising Parakeet.
Because I would never would have noticed it passing by there unless.
Yeah, I'll call for a motion.
I move to approve HRPB project number 2100100014. Consideration of a request for a mural installation for contributing structure located at 17 South L Street based upon the competent substantial evidence in the staff report pursuant to the City of Lake Worth Beach land development regulation and historic preservation requirements, as long as the mural stays as seen in tonight's meeting with no commercial reference. Is that adequate?
This staff conditions of approval are fine, they take care of it.
Okay, thank you.
I have a motion on the floor, seconded.
Second.
Okay, you gotta speak up there, Ms. Fox.
I second it. Ooh.
I know.
All right, we'll get it.
Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yeah,
say aye.
I have a question. We're dealing with this after the fact again. Are we setting a precedent here? In other
No,
words,
they were
do
caught
what you
by,
want and then come back?
no, they were caught by code, and the only way for them to get away with it is to go through the normal channels. It was a code case, she just said.
I get that, but they did it, they got caught, and then they came back and then we approved. I mean,
But it
it
did cost
seems
them.
to be something going on here.
Well, for this particular one, the mural met the standards except for the commercial messaging. And so they were required to remove the commercial messaging.
Yeah, no, I get that. I'm not even pointing them out. I'm pointing out what a thing that's going on here. Everybody does what they want to do, and they come back and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I want to have it."
Been
You
going
know,
on.
I mean, how do we stop that?
Please, you know,
Yeah, it's been going on. That's like the developer cutting all the trees down, saying, "Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't know." It's the way it is.
I remember a similar case with a mural on a commercial building on Lucerne that they had a little bit of a commercial message in it.
Yes.
So they had to take the name of their beer off or something like that. So,
Yeah.
it's, you do have to admit it looks very nice, right?
You know,
Cute mural.
It's a cute mural.
Question.
just that people start putting up fences and they start doing this and that. No, I'm
They
sorry.
reminded me that there is a penalty when you apply, when you
Yeah,
get
it-
caught after the fact.
it
It's 4
costs them.
times the permit fee.
Cost them 4 times the permit fee.
Okay, well, that's something. All right, well, thank you. I guess that's the comment. I'll go ahead and for one, just for the record, I'll go ahead and call the vote again. All in favor of the motion, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Okay.
On to new business, HRPB 21-001-00269. A certificate of appropriateness for window or door replacement property located at 220 South L Street.
So we are just moving and shaking tonight. So this is a COA for window and door replacements for the property located at 220 South L Street. This property is located in the low-density multifamily residential district. The multifamily district, and it is a contributing resource to the Southeast Eastern local historic district. The property is owned by Benjamin Lubin and Tiasha Palikovic.
You could do it, Palikovic.
You're so funny. So the property is a 50 by 135 lot. And as you can see, it is, here's the property file. It is a unified lot that was previously 2 25-foot wide parcels. The front parcel is, I don't know what Jordan's notes are there, I'll just be honest. So moving on, here's the current local conditions. This is a picture of the front structure. It's a 1920s frame vernacular. And you actually may recall this because it came before you not that long ago for the addition of an ADU. This is in a multifamily district, so an ADU is permitted, and that was approved in September of 2021. So here is the subject. This subject COA is for window improvements. So in your staff report, there's a mock-up of the window improvements. This actually could have been done at a staff level, except for the fact that the windows are not in their original openings. Some of them are enlarged. So here on the north elevation is the removal of one window opening to be replaced with siding. And you can see that.
I can't see anything.
Put your glasses on.
I got a Lake Worth Beach sign on.
So give it a minute. We'll give you a minute to go through. For some reason, your internet connection might be slow. So that is actually, then I'll tell you the elevation, Judy. Hold on a second. I'll get you the page number on the elevation. It's going to be, the graphic I'm showing is on your staff report, and it is on page 4. We're just going through those elevations that are on page 4 in your staff report. We just clip them and put them in the presentation.
While you're doing that, The part of our packet included the demolition order for the garage structure in the back. Is that part of this at all, or window doors?
No, it's not part of this. That was, I'm actually part of the ADU, but because some of the previous survey documents included that garage structure, I
You're
wanted
just
to
showing.
include it as general backup.
Okay, thank you.
So anyway, the north elevation, there's a removal of one window to be replaced with siding, and there's an alteration of one window to accommodate a pair of windows. So you can see the existing elevation is on the left. And again, Judy, that's on page 4 of the staff report on the north elevation. And then on the right is the proposed window and door replacement. You can see where the window has been filled in, and then the window that turned from a single into a double. And then again, on the south elevation, it was the removal of 3 window openings to be replaced with faux shutter openings. This is a fire code issue. But they're going to retain those shutters to leave the basically, so it will seem as if there's still an opening there.
If it was fire code, is that supposed to be used for egress?
It's a distance separation. So if they're proposing their configuration, they'll have to have egress from another window. So if there's no egress, they can't meet it basically. But they can't also, William is here, our architect and director, can answer any fire code questions you may have. So,
it appears that that building's facade is too close to the property line, so if those windows were replaced, they would have to be fire rated. We understand that the uses of the spaces behind those windows do not require egress, they're not sleeping rooms. So it can move forward without those windows being there.
and then again, on the east elevation, you can see that the existing window replacement doors, and there's the awning window is going to be replaced with a triplet of windows and just expand the windows on the front. So staff is recommending approval with conditions. The conditions are on page 8 of your staff report. We have them here, and we can walk through them. They're pretty standard conditions.
Yeah.
Is we have a representative from the owner.
Yes, we do. Mr. Harris is here.
Slightly, hold on a second, Mr. Harris.
Yeah, they're gonna play music too when he comes on.
Well, he's already on. Oh, geez. Why is it not showing?
Good evening, Mr. Harris. How are you
Hi
doing?
there. Ladies and gentlemen of the esteemed Historic Resources Preservation Board. This house is, as Aaron was saying, this house is a continuation of the project. The house exists on the property right now. The owners just want to put impact windows in, and they want to change the location. They want to add a window in what's currently the living room. That's on the north elevation. There was a single window there. We proposed a pair of windows that are the same proportion as the original window. And then in the back, or the east side of that, they are putting a banquette into a very small kitchen, and they want to have a corner window condition back there. So there are 2 windows being added, and then around the corner there's 3. Currently there are 2 old awning style jalousie windows, the old aluminum ones in that east elevation. Those are being removed and replaced with the new single hung windows. It's pretty much in keeping with every window that's in the house right now. All the original windows are single hungs. What William was just talking about on the south side of the house, there's only about 1.9 feet from this house to the property line. And by code, that's way too close for any sort of openings. So the openings that are there right now have shutters on them. We're just going to close up the openings and then close the shutters on top of the openings to keep the appearance of what was in fact an opening. And that'll bring it up to code. The bathroom window is a separate issue. That's small enough where it can be dealt with as a rated window. The other ones are just too big. And then as far as egress is concerned, Mr. Guthrie, there are egress windows available for the one bedroom on that south side that face to the east. So they still have egress out of that. The rest of the spaces are just public spaces, part of the living room and part of the entry. That ends my presentation.
Do you have any problem with the conditions of approval?
No, not at all. I talked to Jordan and Abraham about those. Those are all fairly standard.
God rest their soul.
Any questions or comments from the board? Mr. Pickett?
I'm going to have to recuse myself from this because I saw nothing of the presentation.
Did you read the packet?
I read it, yes, but I would like to have seen it.
It's,
It's pretty nice. Looks nice.
I wanted you to vote on it.
Pardon
Okay.
me?
I was hoping you could vote on it, that's
Yeah,
all.
we-
I wasn't.
I was
being-
hoping I could too, but nothing moved.
Well, if I may, I mean, I can hold up the drawings, Judith. Maybe you can read them off of my camera.
And Judy, of the drawings were the only thing in the presentation was what was in the staff report. All the images were on page 4. Those were the only images that were presented.
You have any questions on the depiction of the windows on page 4? You have your package, Judy?
No,
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know where's the camera?
Back there.
I'm good. Bob's gonna hold it up for me though.
Here, I can do it.
Let me take it back to the camera.
Mr.
Here.
Harris can do it, and we can also.
Mr. Harris could do it, he's
I'd
right
love to
there.
vote on this. I just don't want to vote on anything. I don't know what I'm voting on.
Well, we're gonna help you.
That's
You got
understandable.
some time?
Let me see it. Hopefully you can see these okay. I'm gonna, yeah, since they're on trace.
Come on, Jeffrey, you can find it.
Since they're on trace, I'm gonna have to put them with a piece of.
Just hold it up in front of you.
Sherry's got you.
Oh, here she comes.
Okay, you're right there, Sharon.
Closer, share. All right, up a little more.
Right
There you
there.
Okay.
You have to read backwards.
Technology.
Well, no, but I mean, all the windows are the same and they cover the space properly, correct?
They're a little bit
That's
larger
right.
and they have just,
I don't know
they're
if this is
configured
better.
differently.
Up, there you go.
Up, higher. I can't look that.
Up, Jeff.
There you go. Okay,
So this is the existing north elevation of the house.
okay,
The window that's going to be replaced is the one on where all the writing is, the farthest
Yeah,
one, where the
gotcha.
last arrow comes down. That will be replaced by,
I
that's
think
going to be replaced by that double window right there. You see that?
okay, yeah.
So it's the same proportion.
So
Now,
it all equals out.
Generally, yeah. Now, if you look at the opposite side of this drawing, you can see two windows paired together at the corner.
Correct?
Okay, those don't exist right now. Where the dashed line is and the arrow pointing to it, that's the existing window. That's
Yeah.
gonna be replaced with siding. And this is the way it looked beforehand.
Okay, there you go.
So you can see it just
That's
had,
before, okay.
that's before, right? Okay. And then on the back side, what we're talking about for these shutters is this is on the south side of the house.
Okay. Getting my directions correct.
Currently, the house looks like this. Currently, the house on the south side looks like this, but again, these windows could not be replaced by
Replicated, okay.
Okay, but you can see the shutters around them, right? See the shutters on either side of each window? Okay,
Yes,
so the south side of that is going to look like this one. The shutters are, the opening is
Okay.
going to be closed up and the shutters are going to be pivoted closed on top of the old opening to
Alright.
just replicate what was actually there at one point. that little window in the middle is the bathroom window. That will stay there.
Okay, so it's more balanced.
Right. Well, it's just, yeah, we tried to keep it as stock as we possibly could and still accommodate the couple of changes I wanted to make that relate to the interior.
Like a big
Thank you,
improvement.
Sherry. I think I got it.
It was one of the more interesting presentations we've had. Thank you, Ms. Fox, for bringing that up.
Well, I just don't want to vote on anything I haven't seen. And I mean, I know I trust you guys, but you know.
No,
I
that was
appreciate,
good.
I appreciate your wanting to know what you're voting on. So, okay, with any other questions, any other comments?
Just a quick, before.
Thank you.
The drawing before the survey, where it has the windows and the door, is that the door, the front door? That's gonna be used?
That's the,
That's the schedule, yeah.
the front door that's going to be used is a solid, it's basically a 3-panel style door.
Okay, so it's like the one in the, it's not like the one in the elevation either. It's different from the one presented, right?
Let me just see, let me make sure.
Now there's pictures.
We like pictures.
It's the one before the survey.
Let's see the survey.
It's a survey prepared by Next
The
Gen.
front door.
The window and door schedule, I think he's referring to.
Yeah,
Okay.
house window and exterior door schedule.
Yeah, that's in your backup. That's not in the presentation.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's good.
So that's not the,
Now,
those are not the doors
The
and the
door
windows.
that's there, the door that's there right now is it's just a, let's see, I have to look at the pictures. I think it's just a solid, I think the door that's there right now is a solid door anyway.
It's a solid door.
Yeah, and then, in fact, I know it is. And then the one that's going in is also a solid door. It's just it's slightly different. They both have recessed panels. The existing door is a 2-panel door, I believe. The
yeah,
new
this is
door,
a 3-panel.
you can't get a nice one that's 2-panel, so it's a 3-panel door with a broad panel at the top and then 2 vertically oriented panels at underneath that.
I see it, okay.
all right. Moving right along, if there's anybody who'd like to attempt a motion.
I move to approve HRPB project number 21-001-00269 with staff recommended conditions for certificate of appropriateness for window and door replacement for the property located at 220 South L Street, based on the competent substantial evidence in the staff report and pursuant to the City of Lake Worth Beach land development regulations and historic preservation requirements.
Motion by Mr. Pickett. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Dorinzo. Any more comment from the board? Anything? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. I'd like to move on to Planning Zoning Board and HRPB project number 20-011-00001. Request by MAG Real Estate Development on behalf of Hammond Park on the Avenue LLC for consideration of a replat to subdivide a portion of Hammond Park to the development known as Aviara on the Avenue, which is the subject property. The property is located within the northeast of Lucerne Local Historic District and is located within the mixed-use Dixie Highway zoning district with a future land use of mixed-use east. Take it away.
Awesome.
Well stated, Mr. Chairman. I won't restate everything, but suffice to say that this is a plat request. And a plat is a little different than what we have seen one in a while. Here's the general location. And it's different in the sense from your normal review, because it's a very technical administrative review, especially when it's required as a condition of approval. So we'll walk you through the process in the background. And so here's the location. You can see there's Publix, and then it's just to the north of Publix. This is the build out of what was originally known as Hammond Park. It's now called Aviara. And the original Hammond Park development was was originally approved in 2004. There were a lot of subsequent amendments that yielded the construction and development of Publix, which we now have there. In 2015, there was a major residential plan development amendment, and it renamed the park to Bella Terra. And these modifications reconfigured the approved building floor plans. They kept the overall footprint. And as a result of that approval, Ordinance 2015-05, there was a condition of approval that said prior to the certificate of occupancy, which allows the project to close out and be occupied, that the property shall be replatted to reflect the conversion from townhomes or fee simple townhomes to a multifamily condominium structure. So this was a condition of approval of the previous ordinance. It is not about the site plan. It is not about anything. This is a technical requirement to plat and basically the platting process reconfigures the lots. And so it combined all of the original townhome lots into a multifamily lot. So in 2019, building permits were issued to construct the buildings. The buildings have been constructed in accordance with the major residential plan development amendment. They're still finalizing improvements on the site. They would like to get their CO. This is their first stop. You are a recommending body. And what's interesting is because half of this project is in the historic district and half is not, both you and the planning and zoning board see this item. You can see here's the plat. Basically, if you look on the left, you can see the townhome configuration that was originally the entire area just north of Publix was in that townhome configuration, lot configuration. It's being replatted to reflect the condominium configuration with the 4 buildings that you see. The proposed plat satisfies the condition of approval in the previous ordinance, complies with the city's land development requirements and the Florida statute. Both the Florida statute and the city's LDRs have specific requirements for plats. The city has a consultant that specializes in plat review, an engineering firm, Mock Roos. They reviewed this item on behalf of the city for engineering compliance standards as well. And they have provided us a compliance letter, which was in your packet. Staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Board and the Historic, you all, Hrpb, forward a recommendation of approval to the City Commission.
Yeah, place looks good.
Can you explain the difference between town home, the way that a townhome would be platted as opposed to a condominium?
So a townhome is a fee simple product. So the lot under your townhome, you would own the land. So in a condominium product, you would own your condominium unit, but then the underlying fee would be owned by the condominium association or the group as a whole.
The common.
Mm-hmm. So they're commonly held.
This side of the paint
Right, that's why, and that is why this has to be replatted then.
and they're taxed.
But isn't this one of these situations where they're building and then coming and asking us for forgiveness?
No, because
No,
we got an approval
I
in
mean,
2015 and we said, you have to come back and do this. So they're like,
It's a condition.
That was
Just say, you know,
jest,
the
right?
applicant was not super excited when we reminded them that they had to do this, actually. It's not the cheapest process.
okay.
So it's a condition that's required by the original approval,
Right.
Correct.
and it's already built, so.
Yeah, when they bought that piece of Hammond Park,
Yeah.
it's something, it's just,
My only question is, the condominium has then the common areas, but then you have the fee simple townhomes with the 2-car garages that fall into the common area of a separate condominium.
So this is why it took so long to get, they actually applied last fall and we worked very diligently with them to make sure that on the plat that the access was clearly stated. So that, and we require them to basically go through and do an agreement with the existing HOA of the Townhome Association and clarify the access on the roadways and ensure that also the city had access to the internal roadway network. So they actually submitted last year and then they kept changing kind of project managers and not hearing what we were saying is that you have to make sure that, you know, the people in the townhomes can drive on both sides of the road and you can drive on both sides of the road. So that is now in,
And they've executed, that's a recorded document.
there's a recorded, there's a recorded easement agreement, and that easement agreement and the easement, access easement is reflected on the plat.
That answers that.
Okay. Mr.
All right.
Barrett? Ms. Fox, do you have any questions?
Well, once again, I'm stuck on slide 1 and it didn't proceed with everything, but I do understand and have read through this, and yes, thank you. I do understand what's going on.
All right. Hearing that, if there's not any more comments or questions from the group,
No,
well, can I hear a motion?
Okay,
Wait, we have a public comment.
We have a public comment? I'm sorry, go, and we have somebody, it's a letter.
So this is from Fred Romaine, 308 North J Street, and he and his neighbors want to know that if the replat will have any effect on the emergency access only gate with Knox box off of J Street. This large gate is on the site plan and needs to be installed for obvious reasons, mainly traffic flow, blocking the complex's trash containers from public view and a cleaner look for the surrounding area. I and neighbors want the board to know that if this replat will have an effect on this gate, we would strongly object. In addition, should the board be considering our recommendations while the property still has open code violations still pending? Thank you.
Yes.
What are
Do
they?
you have a question?
Can you address those concerns?
So it does not reflect, it does not impact the site plan. So whatever was approved in 2015 will have to be in place before the certificate of occupancy is issued. So the building inspectors will go out and inspect to plan. And if Knox box and gate was required in the last amendment, it will be required now. I don't have that plan in front of me. And what was the other question?
The,
Oh, code violation, yeah, so this is in furtherance of bringing the property to completion of the CO. So, and whenever you have something that's a project forward towards completion, then it's not, you can move forward on those items. So you're, as long as you're not getting an application for new development, this is moving it forward to completion. It was also required.
is there code violations on the property now?
I don't know, honestly,
Okay.
off the top of my head, if there are, what are those?
There will be some complaints and issues with the trash receptacles being out on the wrong day and not being where they were approved to be placed in the site plan. So Public Services and Code Compliance have been working with the apartment section of the project to ensure that those trash bins are relocated where they're supposed to be when it's not trash pickup day.
Well, that's the only place that this happens in the city. So,
yeah, it just,
if we can get that taken care of and buttoned down, that'd be great.
It's not a certificate of occupancy issue per se, it's more of a
Correct.
management issue.
Okay. Is there any more public comment?
No, that's all.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Hearing no other comments, can I ask for a motion, please?
Okay, I move to recommend to the city commission to adopt the proposed LDR text amendments included in 21. Am I reading the correct one?
No.
No, I'm sorry.
yeah,
Am I? Yes.
recommendation to approve.
Yes, I'm reading.
Yeah, you're right.
You're reading
Yeah.
the text amendment, sorry.
To the city commission to adopt the proposed LDR text amendments included in 21-004.
That's not the right one.
No,
No,
motion, recommend to approve Hrpb project, 20-011-0001 for replat of that one.
I move to recommend approval of PCB HRPB project number 20-0110-0001 for a replat of a portion of Hammond Park to Aviera on the Avenue. The proposal meets the applicable criteria based on the data and analysis in the staff report.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Martin, a second by Mr. Pickett. Any further comments from board? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. On to PZB HRPB 21-004-00001 ordinance 2021-09, consideration of an ordinance to chapter 23 land development regulations regarding changes to the development appeal process.
So Judy will be very pleased that we do not have a PowerPoint for this item. So,
Just gotta turn your volume up.
Basically this amendment is brought forward, we've seen quite a few appeals of different things, and our appeal process is not a typical appeal process and is no longer the standard type of appeal process for development order. The Florida statute provides for appeals of development orders to the circuit court. Most jurisdictions have amended their local ordinances if they had an internal appeal to reflect the Florida statute legal standards and process. And because appeals have required legal standard process, it can be difficult for local governments. It's very cumbersome to manage. It's very time consuming to manage. It also provides better due process to have these go to the court. And then one of the interesting little hookups that we've had that kind of showed us, it also it lengthens the time for appellants as well as applicants. So what happened with, there was an approval for a project known as DOPA. It was an industrial project of the Planning and Zoning Board approved it as a major site plan. It was appealed to the City Commission. The City Commission voted to remand it back to the Planning and Zoning Board, but rather than get remanded, then the applicant then appealed to circuit court, as is their right. So we went through a whole staff process, and then it just ended back up in court. So that's kind of an example of what we've been seeing with our things, our appeals. It's very heavy on the staff time. So this proposed ordinance basically reflects Florida statute process and standard practice now among local governments, which is basically your decisions would be final, and instead of being appealed to the City Commission, they would be appealed to circuit court. And what that does is it takes you basically directly to the body where the final appellate authority lives. Did I say that correctly?
Pretty much. I mean, that is it.
Okay. So they basically, it costs, everybody has lawyers, it costs money and time to appeal to the City Commission. And then everybody then, if they don't like their decision, then everybody then appeals to the circuit court.
So they're avoiding the City Commission.
So this ordinance would just eliminate this step of the City Commission. So
How does the City Commission feel about being taken out of the that step?
Let's back up for a minute. What's atypical in Lake Forest Beach is that we do have final decisions being made by an advisory body. Many cities do not have their planning or zoning board, zoning board appeals, making final decisions on development orders. And same thing works for you. You make final decisions on development orders. And in those cases, the final decision-making body in most cities would be the City Commission, and you appeal to the circuit court. Based on the 3 appeals that we've had with the last commission, and I think 2 or 3 with the new commission, there was consensus from the commission and requested staff to prepare an ordinance to move the appeal process to circuit court, so it would avoid the City Commission dealing with appeals of your decisions, and then it would avoid appeals of that sort coming to them. Their decisions already, if they are made in the final order, would be appealed to the circuit court. So just everything having a final order would follow the same track.
Right.
And variances, when you make a final order on a variance, that already goes to circuit court. So it's only site plans that.
Well, wait a second.
If we-
That's what this is where I'm kind of confused in that. In other words, like just recently, we had a variance that was turned down by the Planning and Zoning Board twice. Okay, and those people decided to go and appeal to the City Commission, and the City Commission overturned it. That in that particular case, that would not allow that applicant to do that. They would have to go directly, if the City Commission had not overturned the Planning and Zoning Board's decision twice, it would then only have the option of going to circuit court.
The City Commission hasn't overturned a planning and zoning board decision.
There was a variance for the Lord's Place. It had to do with area.
No, that's a plan development. It's embedded in their ask as a waiver. It's not a variance. So
Different.
it's
Totally different.
yeah.
Okay, and then the other one that came to mind, which doesn't really apply, so I shouldn't be mentioning it, but with, in our particular case, we've had to rule on people's tints of windows. And
Verify that.
And what, I'm a firm believer, if you don't like a law, you change it.
Yeah.
And that is what they did, that people got together and changed it. Now, that was not a denial necessarily, but we have denied them in the past. So if we denied let's say somebody wants to go to 50% window tint, and we decide to say, you've got to maintain a 60%, which is the rule now. And they would not be able to take it to the city commission and overrule us. Is that, that's,
Court, yes.
they'd have to go to circuit court at this
That
time.
makes sense.
Well, but the circuit court is not a rule maker or lawmaking. That's the city commission is to change the rules,
Well, the city,
which is what they did in
I
this
think
particular
we
case.
need to.
The city commission would still be able to make that rule change if the applicant decided not to appeal it in court and instead appeal to the city commission to change the law or the regulation. That is another avenue that they could take and then bring the application back after the law has been modified.
And to be clear, this was not, the city commission did not take this up in regards to us denying anybody. This was not an appeal of our decision. This was people getting together and telling the city commission this is what we
They
want.
can still do that.
Right.
This would be
Okay.
taking citywide, anytime there's a final decision, the same step is taken. And doesn't matter who makes that final decision, it goes to circuit court if you want to appeal it.
And I
So
think what we also
being
need to
consistent.
explain too is, and then can you explain this, is that when an appeal, when a final decision that you make is appealed to the city commission, they don't act as the city commission. They act as an appellant body. So they act as a court. So, and can you talk about what that means, what they can
Sure,
consider?
so when you're sitting in an appellant review, is you all do sometimes when somebody appeals a decision from William, basically, then, you're not looking at it from start to finish. You're saying, is the decision consistent with the law that was supposed to be applied? And so it puts a different hat on, and for the city commission to sit in that role can be challenging. And it's, guidance from staff, a different project presentation from staff, and the applicant has to play a different role in it too. And it just, again, makes more sense and is consistent and is more efficient and effective to go straight to court, because most of the time, that's where you're headed anyway.
And when the city commission is sitting also as an appellate body, they cannot hear new evidence.
Right.
And that becomes difficult because a lot of people want to give public testimony, and it becomes difficult to manage because you're at a public meeting but you're sitting as a court, and you have, there's a lot of things to juggle that are.
And the only reason they can't go straight from, say, you all and your decision straight to court now is because it's in our code that they would appeal to the city commission. And so the court will not hear their case until they've exhausted all their administrative remedies, which means taking that step to the city commission first.
So I just want to clarify here, because in the analysis it says it removes the requirement,
Correct.
but does it actually remove the option? Could they still choose the commission?
It does. remove
Okay.
the option.
And so then that kind of also nullifies your issue with the affected parties.
So we will still retain affected parties because it will give them more robust participation in the decision-making issue, but also the issue becomes when the city commission is sitting as an appellant body, they have to decide then, they have to put their court hat on, are they really an affected party? And they're not experts in determining affected parties under Florida law. And they've been put into some tough positions recently by trying to make these determinations that are statute driven, that are normally handled by circuit court judges specializing in land use decisions. And so this is why basically every single decision they've made has been ultimately challenged in court, and it's caused a lot of attorneys to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And
a lot of
that's about
staff
it.
time and everything else.
Honestly, like that's what our net experience is we enriched a lot of attorneys.
Then there is an exception for this. People can appeal to the city commission about a decision from the DRO? Or,
They can appeal to you.
You.
You are the appellate body for the DRO.
oh, and they cannot go to the commission. It seems that it's cut out that you could still go to the commission and appeal that decision.
I think you can always go to the commission
No.
if you want to change the rule. So I
Yes.
think
That's the whole thing.
Yes.
If you want to change the rule itself,
Regulation, yeah.
not just your specific situation, you can go to the commission.
Every time.
We want to change this rule, law, code.
And the thing of it is when you all make a determination as an appellate body, you can't say, I don't want this rule to apply to this property. That's a variance process. You have to say, did the DRO not apply the rule correctly? Or did the DRO misunderstand the code? And the code actually means this and doesn't mean that. So you're appealing the interpretation of the law of the actual codes. You're acting kind of in an advisory capacity because you all are the local planning agency. You're designated as statute. You provide guidance. William, did you want to add any
No,
more?
I saw someone walk.
Okay.
Oh.
So you have
No, I got it.
a statutory designated role as an advisory body. So you are the appellate of the DRO decision because you are experts in this area. And this board is balanced of experts in, from real estate to design folks. You are a body of experts and you're designated under statute as the local planning. So you're the appellate body of the DRO.
We have certain meetings or hearings that we operate as quasi judicial, but that is not all the time. We're advisory most of the time unless it goes to a hearing of sorts, right?
Great, so your hearing is quasi judicial, but you only really act as like a judiciary body, an appellate judiciary body in interpretations of the DRO. Otherwise, the quasi judicial proceedings are proceedings that are set up to ensure due process of the applicant and the affected party. So that's a process where when you are the appellate body, so you're the judge, is only when staff makes a decision and you say staff is not interpreting the law correctly. And that's a very rare situation.
Not to confuse the matter anymore, there are a couple instances where the DRO or staff are not allowed to interpret the code. And that interpretation comes to either you or the planning and zoning board or both as a local planning agency. One is the permitted use table. We have an inclusionary code. If it's not allowed, if it's not mentioned, it's not allowed. If somebody's questioning how the permitted use table is utilized or to be interpreted, it comes to you and directly goes past the DRO. As an example, that's similar to a quasi-judicial.
And then if they don't like what we say, are they, what is their
In that case,
decision?
you have to go to circuit court, because you would be making the final decision
Circuit
on the
court.
interpretation of the permitted use table, as an example.
Okay, so indulge me again, I'm sorry, and I apologize.
No, no,
We operate as a quasi judicial board all the time or only, okay, so we're an advisory capacity for most everything that we hear. Variances, no, we're quasi judicial there.
It's not, quasi judicial is the process. It's how the structure is the hearing. So it's
Even
that,
if you're advisory, you can still have a
It's still-
quasi judicial hearing.
yeah, so it's just, people are sworn in, they speak at a certain time. It's like the order of operations in mathematics, right? Like there's an
Okay.
order that happens.
It's not like one particular, because I know that the commission goes in and out of a quasi judicial. They have to stop their meeting and then go into,
So this hearing, for example, is not this item is not quasi judicial. This is a legislative item. It's a
Right.
policy item. There's not an applicant, there's not an affected party. It's a change in the law. So you are acting as a legislative advisory body.
well, that was my concern when I first read this, was that I believe, I really do believe in my tenure on the board here, that when we hear cases coming in front of us for variances, let's just take that as
Well,
a,
variances already go to circuit court, so that's a bad example.
You know how serious.
okay.
So variances,
Well,
which are the most serious
Yes,
decision that
they
you
are.
make, because they are varying the code, and there is very specific criteria that come from statute
Mhm.
When you make the final decision on that, all those decisions already go.
So what is the word we're supposed to use when you're bringing something that was, for example, the driveway didn't match or the,
That's a certificate of appropriateness.
Okay.
So you're acting as a historic preservation board and making a decision on a certificate of appropriateness. It's a quasi judicial proceeding.
but it's a variance from the,
No, it's not a variance.
it's not a
It's
variance.
a certificate, it is what it is. It's a certificate of appropriateness.
So that's the word we should use. That is a deviation from the
It's not.
required
No, you're
No?
saying that is this request appropriate with the rules related to this historic district?
Or the guidelines.
And it's in the guidelines, and this makes sense, it's appropriate. And if it is, you issued the certificate of appropriateness.
and if it's not, you deny it.
Correct.
Okay.
To help you get a broader picture of it,
Mhm.
in the case that we heard, they had already been given recommendation from staff. What they could have done is looked at their application, apply the variance criteria, and said, we will request a variance to the historic preservation guidelines and Secretary of Interior standards to allow this driveway for X, Y, Z, and there are 4 criteria. Under that scenario, it would have been a variance, and your decision to deny it, most likely, because I don't know how they would have met the variance criteria, would have gone to circuit court.
Okay.
And then there's
That
different
makes sense to
variances too. Like there, you have historic, you have a historic variance and you have a traditional variance, and that's a different.
Well, no, it's
Yeah.
when variances come in front of us, I
It's a
do recall
waiver.
on these that there are 4 criteria that
Yes.
that
That's
must
a
be met.
waiver. So you're
No,
talking,
The variance has the 4 criteria.
Yes.
The waiver is only applicable to the contributing property.
sorry, yes,
Correct.
the variance has the
Bill
4
sits in
criteria, that's what I.
straight up
remember.
to his
So
chair.
Okay,
it's just-
and I want to reiterate my question. The commission does not have, by consensus, the commission is pretty much for this to take
They
care of.
requested us to bring this forward to them.
They requested this. Okay, because, well, I was looking at this as, it's kind of,
It's a good point.
politics plays in everything. So if somebody doesn't like something, they go to the commission and they're fine with being taken out of that process. Okay. Comments, questions, anyone else? Judy?
No, I get it.
All right, hearing no more, I would like to request a motion.
I move to recommend to the city commission to adopt the proposed LDR text amendment included in 21-004-00001 ordinance 2021-09.
Motion by Mr. Pickett, second by Mr. Dorenzo. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Planning issues.
No planning issues.
That would be me. No, I've got a planning issue.
Oh,
I'm gonna bring, and I'm glad Mr. Waters is here tonight. We recently heard and denied a proposal where somebody had purchased a 100-foot property that formerly had a single-family home and a detached garage located at 307 North Bell Street. And the owners, the new owners of the property, it had already been brought to us for them to put 4
Right.
single-family units on 4 25-foot lots. Okay, I had a problem with, we all had a problem with the design and the look of it and everything else. But something didn't sit right with me that we're making 4 25-foot lots. So when I go back and I take a look at the ordinance, it says that 25-foot lots are non-conforming. And that the smallest lot that you are allowed to build on is a 50-foot wide lot. Conforming. So in other words, if that same applicant had come in front of the staff and said, okay, I want to divide it up into 2 50-foot lots, everything would be conforming. But it appears to me that we're making 4, we're splitting up a 100-foot lot and making 4 non-conforming lots. And I was told that this has to do with the fact that those lots were platted back in
12.
yeah, 2012 or 1912 or something, where the entire city was platted as 25-foot lots. And since then, I mean, people have put lots together, people have split lots, they've made, you know, for instead of 25, they bought the lot, half of the lot next to them, and they've got 37.5. So there's been a lot of things going on, but at some point in our rules and regulations, we said that the smallest residential lot needs to be 50 foot wide. And that and it does allow, because if you happen to purchase a lot, 25-foot lot, and there's a house on one side of you, a house on the other side, we do allow it under certain conditions for you to build and put a house in that place. And that's you have a single 25-foot lot. Okay, and you're allowed to build on it because you own that property, and they can't, but you have to follow certain criteria, and that is a single lot. So I had a real problem. I didn't understand why I had the problem, and we all didn't like the barracks look of the proposal, but I had a problem with us making more 25-foot lots because we have parking problems.
I think it all had to address to the original 25-foot lots. I mean, that rule changed on the north end from 75 to 50 not long ago,
Let's be
right?
careful. And let's not use a specific example that's going to come back before the board.
Right.
It likely will come back before the board.
Yeah.
But the zoning code that was in place when I arrived in 2010, the minimum residential lot that could be created was 75 feet.
Right.
That was reduced about 6 years ago to 50 feet. In the code, I don't remember when this happened, that's just history. The city worked toward providing special criteria for 25-foot lots. There were special design guidelines for 25-foot lots. And there was an appreciation of the historic fabric that was created by those 25-foot lots. And in the code that preceded the LDRs from 2013 and the post ones, which we work with now, there was an appreciation that if you had a lot of record of 25 feet that was platted at some point in history before some certain date, you could go back to utilizing those lots. There was an exemption made for, I think, Worthmore Drive and College Park, that in those areas, you could not split things back to their original lots record. And so you've got the semantics of a parcel, and in the property that Mr. Guthrie mentioned, let's say it's a parcel of 4 lots. If it's lots of record and it hasn't been replatted and those lot lines have not been erased, our code currently allows you to go back to 25-foot lots on a parcel. My God, it's happened so much, because we've even had a problem where.
What is that certain date? That's the cutoff date.
1976.
I'm going to say 76.
Practically the entire city was platted before that. The only thing that's been platted since then is a subdivision on South Lakeside Drive that's sort of a cul-de-sac. The townhouse projects were platted, and then the subdivision up on near Vernon Heights. Lake Cove, and maybe one other thing. And so, and some of the lots, I think in Lake Osborne may have been platted after that date. So all of the historic lots that were 25 feet, 25 foot, could be brought back at some point.
If they were divided before this date.
Well, they were created way, like most of our historic districts were platted in the 1920 or 1910s. So those lots have existed since then.
And they were all 25-foot lots.
Most of them are.
Okay, and they were given away to people as an incentive to buy property out west someplace.
Yeah.
Mostly now Palm Springs, which actually has subdivisions called Lucerne and Lakewood, but anyway.
But what's the purpose of this date, this cutoff date?
Something was going on in the 70s. I'm not quite sure what all it was.
I think it had to do with the beginning of traffic concurrency and platted lots of record on the county.
Well, it's also the time period where there was a proposal that you could do a residential plan development, I mean, whatever size, anywhere in the city. One was proposed on South Lakeside Drive that led to a charter referendum to reduce the height east of Dixie Highway from 165 feet. The plan developments couldn't happen in single-family residential. There were a whole lot of things to check, and this all is happening about the 1970s.
Mm-hmm.
It's also started moving away from vacation rentals being allowed is about 1970, 1980 or something.
Right.
So this specific property that we looked at, what was in 1976?
We
can't talk about it.
Oh, okay.
But you can see up here, here's the text. It's actually, it's in the nonconformity section, and it talks about non-conforming lots of record. A non-conforming lot of record is a platted lot, which does not meet current standards. in any zoning district, dwelling units are permitted.
Which by width, okay, a record is a plotted lot, which by width, depth or area
Does not meet current standard.
does not meet the current standard. So right now, a 25-foot lot is a non-conforming lot.
Right.
Unless platted prior to
So this
1976.
is non-conforming, this
That was the whole
non-conforming,
section, though.
this non-conforming lot can exist. This is what this is saying. This is how non-conforming things can happen.
Or you can build on a non-conforming
Right,
lot.
Yes.
and you can
Okay,
keep.
if you already have one.
Right, so if you keep reading, if you're in a multifamily district and you have a 25-foot lot,
Yeah.
you can only do a single family house. So if you
Okay.
look here, on a non-conforming lot, you can only put a single family house.
Let's pause right there though. But what you're talking about is an instance where there are multiple lots to
Right.
form a parcel under a single ownership. It doesn't mean there aren't still separate lots. So you can still use the separate lots
Right, okay,
as
but
they exist
But
and
Right.
not necessarily the parcel as a whole.
okay, what I'm talking about is in this non-conforming lots of record, it states that may be erected on any single non-conforming lot of
So
record.
there's what the property appraiser does and there's what the plat says.
Mhm.
So the plat is important because the plat is the actual recordation of the lot configuration. The property appraiser does all kinds of crazy stuff. And some of it is illegal as far as like when they split lots. I mean, almost technically, according to the property appraiser, you could sell somebody your front yard.
Yes.
It doesn't make it a legal lot of record. They do all kinds of stuff. And in fact, they've slowed down because cities and the county complained so much that people were, no offense, Bob, but real estate agents were saying, you have this lot, you can build on it. And it was a lot and it had a PCN. This was
Let's
20
use an
years
example
ago.
that's, everybody,
Yeah.
Mr. Lorenzo is probably the most intimately familiar with this one. It's 801 Lake Avenue. The back 35 feet was chopped off, those lots,
Yes.
and a building built at some point.
That little building on the ass end of it
It's its own,
is its own
801.
PO, it's its own PCN number and it's literally like 20 by 20.
There's a few lots like
That's
that
the
around.
size
so
of
there's
it.
a lot, actually, there are a lot of them.
A lot of
You
them.
have
There's no
places
land.
where a 50-foot lot has been split into thirds,
Mhm.
and there's a triplex built across all three, and no condo docks, no townhouse docks.
Yeah.
There was a lot of weirdness. We have
Sold that one.
properties where the contributing property had multiple lots. It was split and the contributing address is on a vacant parcel.
Okay,
And the contributing property is on a different address now.
but are we at some point, in other words, at some point in probably even in the making of the LDRs, which you are very intimate with, we got to a point where we said that we want the smallest conforming lot to build on to be a minimum of 50-foot width.
Zoning is set up blind in the sense that all the land exists with no platting. So any new lot that you want to create in any subdivision, unless it's a planned development for residential purposes,
Mhm.
has to be 50 feet and a minimum of 6,500 square feet.
Okay, but if you happen to have one of those 25-foot lots that are stuck between two other houses, you are allowed to build under certain criteria. Then you have, that means you have a single 25-foot lot, any single non-conforming lot of record. When you take four and put them together, now you've got four
Still four
non-conforming.
singles. Lot
Yeah,
5,
but
6,
it's
7,
not,
and 8.
it is not, it's four singles, it's not a single.
So wait, so the difference is, so if you look a little bit down in this paragraph, you can work down, Aaron. So it does, there is a distinction made in this paragraph. So for, as Mr. Waters said, for lots in College Park and Worthmore Park subdivisions, if two or more such lots, so if you have two 25-foot wide non-conforming lots are in, or combinations thereof, with contiguous frontage under single ownership, which is what you're talking about,
Mhm.
then those have to be considered an individual parcel.
Shall, right.
But
Shall be
it's
considered.
Only in those two areas. Any other place, they can both be still a single, each a single lot. Only
Okay.
in those two areas do they have to remain combined under single ownership and treated then as a single parcel.
Okay, so the very last sentence says, for lots created after January 5th,
So that.
no division of any parcel shall be made which creates a lot width or area below the requirements stated in this
Right, because
LDR.
you're confusing what the property appraiser does, which is just kind of whatever they want.
Mhm.
Let's use the right term. They have a parcel, which is a collection of platted lots.
4 25-foot lots.
And so you just said it, there are 4 25-foot lots that are platted. It is not,
They're not
It
created.
is not 4 single lots. And
It is.
it is.
okay, well,
Not 2 single lots of 50.
All right, so
There's
why-
4 lots.
okay, wouldn't we be better off because of all the issues that we're running into with 25-foot lots, that if somebody purchases a multi-lot portion and they come and they ask us, what should we do with this? Well, you should be dividing it into 2 50-foot lots if you want to put single family homes
This
on
is
it.
an area
That's our
where
money.
you, as an advisory board and LPA, could make a recommendation for consideration that this language in the LDR possibly is
We
changed,
change it.
that exception for College Park and Worthmore applies to everybody. However, there is a great interest to facilitate single-family home ownership for those who are of lesser means out of workforce housing. And Lake Worth Beach has a dramatic, unique opportunity that many people can attain affordable housing or workforce housing ownership by utilizing a 25-foot lot. So I don't know how much support there might be to change this to eliminate the 25-foot lots from being able to be built on.
No, just the, I'm not talking about, because we are allowed to build on 25-foot lots. And we encourage that as long as they meet the criteria. And there's tons of them being built on over in the alphabet streets right now. What we want to probably discourage is somebody buying a 50-foot lot and breaking it up into 2 25 non-conforming lots.
Okay,
Over here, many of these 25-foot lots were created by splitting off 25-foot lot from the other 25-foot lot
right.
in order to build a house.
And if it's an empty lot and it is lot 5 and 6, block 42, like it's 2 25-foot lots.
Correct. No, I understand that.
It could be just that
The
particular.
majority of the core of
They
the
buy
city is
multiple
one
lots, they're building each individual unit individually on an individual independent lot. So
Right.
it happens that they're coming in with multiple lots, but they're still 4 individual lots.
Well,
It's-
we're not talking about that.
But we're not talking.
No, I know, but if you're talking about
It
conglomerating,
doesn't matter how many you own in a
All right.
row.
you could go buy 10 lots and they're all
So let's go back to
25-foot
the language
lots.
that William brought up.
Mhm.
There is a parcel and a PCN, which is given by the property appraiser.
Correct.
Mhm.
That is not a legal lot configuration. The configuration of your lot is determined by the plat, and you guys just saw the plat, a plat that just came
Yeah.
through. That's a plat. The plat is recorded, and there's a process. It's got an engineering review. It goes through a defined legal review process with ultimate recordation of the clerk of the court as a legal lot of record. So you have non-conforming legal lots of record, which are these 25-foot
Right.
lots. Then you have parcels. The parcel boundaries are assigned by the property appraiser to basically for the purposes of collecting property taxes. That is their
So you can
role.
receive one bill instead of 4 or 5
5
bills, or however many.
Right.
So if
So they
you,
get 1 PCN.
so a while back, they said, okay, you own all this stuff together. We're gonna give you 1 GIS boundary and you're gonna get 1 bill.
See, I wouldn't have an issue with it if it's within our original 25-foot lots. The entire city was not 25-foot lots. It's
And this
basically-
only applies to
core.
existing platted
Right.
25-foot lots.
Okay, so at some point, my point on
That's
this
what I'm trying to.
became at the very beginning, and what struck me, I didn't understand when a particular project was brought in front of us, that somebody was applying for 4 separate non-conforming PCNs, okay, and to make 4 non-conforming lots. At some point,
Back up on your language. They are not making lots. The lots were already made. They were already platted back in 1915 or whatever.
all right, and so
They were
therefore,
taking a parcel and making it 4 parcels based on 4 recorded lots.
and we don't know, and I guess it doesn't matter whether they did unity of title or anything along those lines,
You can
because
do unity of
You can
title.
do that.
the unity of title has nothing to do with it.
What they would have had to done to achieve, and we'll use it as a global example. Those property owners that own collections of lots would have to have them replatted with the lot lines erased which is very similar to what's going to be happening with the Bohemian, because that's actually 4 parcels and a half, another one. We've asked them to do unity of title and a boundary survey that eliminates it and makes it one lot,
parcel.
So-
which also becomes one parcel.
So if you have a unity of title, you have to request that that be released. And the city commission could deny the request to release the unity of title if it's in place or approve it.
All right, so
What is the status of that lot? We can't discuss that lot?
We can discuss that.
We just
Now-
approved a replat that was similar to that with the townhomes. We get rid of the townhomes and it's now just a big boundary plat of one
Correct.
overall parcel instead of being individual lots for each one of those townhomes. That's what they would have to do in order to get rid of the lots.
Yes.
If they had a group.
a replat is what you're saying. It would have to be a replat. Okay, then the question still remains, okay, again, on one hypothetical particular project that was brought in front of us, one of the issues that we deal with on a regular basis is trying to fit these, and I think I might have even made a comment to that point, that we're trying to fit everything onto this lot with, area for permeative cover, the lot area coverage, parking is a big thing. And so we, at one point, are discouraging the proliferation of all of this building on 25-foot lots where you're allowed to do it. But are we saying at some point that we need more space for houses, and it's fine to have 25-foot lots in particular neighborhoods, but you should have some 50-foot lots in there too to break it up, which in a lot of cases is the case. There's houses that take up or homes that take up 50 and even larger lots inside with several other 25.
How the form-based component of our code takes into consideration that you could not build to the intensity on a small 25-foot lot as you could on a larger lot. So you cannot, it's very difficult, it's not impossible, you cannot get a 2-story house on a 25-foot lot unless the second floor is stuck in the roof, as an example. There is a provision that I think a 25-foot lot residential only has to provide 1 off-street parking space. It doesn't have to provide 2, but another part of the code requires you have to have at least 1 of your parking spaces be off the street. And so some of the things we built into the code, both in 2013 and I guess we made a change in 2016, deals with some of the form issues where we have some 25-foot lots in the city that were built by the CDC with a gigantic house on it, where it is from wall to wall and there's no yard. You can't do that anymore because now we have small lots in our code, medium lots and large lots. The larger the lot gets, the greater the proportion of a lot that has to remain open. With like impervious area and landscaping. But we do have a process where the setbacks are applicable to a 25-foot lot, which is 3 feet versus 10%. And that's a number of reasons. One is the fire code. You can get away with not having to have the fire rated windows if you've got at least 3 feet of setback.
Right.
The old 25-foot lots would let you do a 2.5-foot setback, which I didn't think was the purpose, but it was in 6-inch on both sides. And as Elizabeth mentioned, you can only build a unit on a 25-foot lot, but we have numerous 25-foot lots with as many as 3 units on it. We don't allow that anymore.
And the parking does not come into play with, like you said, you're on a 25-foot lot. We have proposals that come to us all the time with a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home on a 25-foot lot. And you're only required to have 1 parking spot.
Right.
And that is why we recommend, or we want to try to encourage people to build on 50-foot lots.
Well, and here's the dilemma that staff finds themselves. Just last week, I was approached by individuals who, why do we have a parking requirement? We're trying to be a sustainable city and be walkable. So I've got people who are advocating every house should have 5 parking spaces off the street. And I've got another end of a constituency. Why do we have a parking requirement at all?
Did you ask them for their car keys?
I'm doing both. In the happy medium in the middle.
There are some cities that are getting rid of their parking requirements since.
Really? And I think that depends on the size of the city. I mean, you go downtown West Palm, Olive, Clematis, and all of that, where you have a lot of people don't have vehicles.
Well, there's a push from various constituents that buildings that do not have parking that wish to be restored should now have to meet the current new parking requirement. Well, like downtown, most of the businesses have no parking at all, so if you wanted a new business to come in, are you saying that the building has to stay vacant? Until they can find some vacant land to build a parking space? So parking is gonna be coming up as a discussion item, and the commission did sign a interlocal agreement with Treasure Coast Regional Planning to do some downtown modeling. Parking is gonna come up.
It comes up.
Studying the L&M Park property and K property, because whatever happens there, we're gonna lose some public parking. Where is it made up somewhere else? So you're a little bit ahead of the curve, but.
Oh,
parking-
I'm accused of that all the time.
But parking is going to be a discussion item for the city, because we have advocates all over the place when it comes to requiring parking, reducing the parking requirement, eliminating it, making it more stringent.
But
And
isn't that an issue in every municipality trying to grow?
yes,
I mean, I was just, up in my house in Maine this summer, and here's a town that 1,200 residents, a little grocery store, the whole thing. Their big issue is the parking. Here's a little city growing. They're building a civic, like a meeting hall, civic center, 2 new restaurants, and there's no place to park now. So, and then you talk to like Del Rey. I was talking to one of the people down there. They're having issues again, and that constantly comes up, parking. I talk to developers, builders, so do you guys. Parking. And we have to figure it out, and it's gonna come in front of us.
And that is where I thought that the requirement or the 25-foot lots becoming non-conforming was trying to address one of those issues that come in front of us constantly. So if a 100-foot lot is broken up into 2 50-foot lots,
A parcel.
Parcel.
It's a
a
parcel.
100-foot parcel, and that is platted as 4, we would encourage them to break it into 2,
Well, you.
or
as an advisory-
break it into conforming lots.
So you as
is
an
what I'm saying.
advisory board can always make recommendations when an application comes to you.
Right.
But when an applicant comes to us and they said that they want to break it up into the lots of record, they can definitely do that according to the
Yeah.
code. We can't say that they're not in conformance.
but in deference to what Mr. Webb got through, we do encourage people to build on the 50-foot lot, or we encourage them as examples where there are collections of properties and that it's a multifamily zoning district, build a building or build townhomes, which we've had infill townhomes.
Rather
We have
than,
also had people who would like to build individual fee simple houses on the individual lots, and we've got examples of all that in between.
So therefore, when I'm reading this as when somebody has a single non-conforming lot that they are allowed to work on, they're allowed to build on it, under certain conditions, with specific set of conditions.
Right.
Okay, but then when somebody has 4 non-conforming lots,
Each single non-conforming lot, they're allowed to build on,
Right.
regardless of where it is.
whether they're contiguous with another one,
right,
Unless it's in one of those. two
unless it's in the
neighborhoods.
2 neighborhoods.
So that's just kind of what the code says. If, like William says, if you all would like, if you have consensus or you want to talk about it when a project that is related to this standard comes up later and you want to make a recommendation to the city commission to consider a different policy, that is at your discretion to do so. But regardless, any project that's in the pipeline will be held to the standards of when they apply. So you can't make a code change because you see an application and say, oh, I don't want that, that's in. You know what I mean? So they're kind of in under the code that they came.
My entire purpose of bringing this discussion up was the fact that number 1, 25-foot lots are not conforming. Number 2, you are allowed on a single lot to build whatever you want. And so I took single lot.
Zoning requirements.
As
setback.
long as you meet the, exactly, under certain conditions, and that, I took the single lot as being one in the middle of the block. You are not prohibited from building on your single
You should
non-conforming
look at
lot.
Each.
each
single
lot, lot 5, 6.
Well,
7,
and that's just it. I want to find out, is that something that we're looking to do because of parking issues that come in front of us?
Let me ask you a quick question. I don't know if it's something to discuss in this type of meeting, but can't we have some sort of architecture other than those typical groups that we have, the Deco and the Mediterranean and the vernacular, that we add another one that may be more appropriate for like a 25-foot lot that may be something, considering that everybody has automobiles and 2 and 3 automobiles and many homes, Like in Key West, they have the houses on stilts and the cars parked under the house. They takes it off the road and off the alleyways. Why can't we do that here in these tiny lots?
You could if you weren't in a historic district.
In a historic district, you can
We're
do.
not in a historic district, because the streetscape is also very important. To see the streetscape where you have buildings that are generally no more than 2 feet above grade, all lined up, and then all of a sudden it's like 8 feet off the ground, that breaks your historic continuity, integrity, and character of that street.
But we have 2-story apartment buildings in historical districts. We have townhome
It's not
development.
the second story. It's
Huh?
not the second story. It's the fact that you've made the whole, this front facade parking.
But that happens in street after street. There's deviations from, you could see 5 cottages, and then all of a sudden, and it doesn't matter which decade it happened, and there is a 2-story apartment building. And then you go,
But is the parking visible from the front?
yes, on the apartment buildings, yes, they are.
They're talking about underneath it. We don't have that design yet here.
We
It's
have a
the still,
couple of
the still
offices.
house.
But why should we not entertain that? It won't, and you could still have kind of Key West or Bermuda style architecture, whatever.
Maybe getting what you're asking for, that
Yeah.
developer from Miami over on South Conway was doing, isn't that a historic district?
It also addresses the flood situation with flood insurance.
But it's not all visible from the road. It's like an alley or side access,
Okay.
you know?
Maybe, you may be getting one that's similar to what you're talking about, we can look at that. There's also a couple of other general land development regulation items that we're likely going to be scheduling a workshop that will have both you and the planning and zoning board together talking about them. Because I hate to get, whenever we make a change to the LDRs, it's got to come from both of you.
Right.
And I'd hate to get the commission said, planning and zoning board said this, and the preservation board said that. And the commission's like, why can't you guys have some consensus? So it would be nice if we're doing some changes, and we have several that are listed and we haven't gotten to it for a number of reasons.
If we come, what do we make? Do we kind of flip it around? Y'all sit up here and the
We
two
just
boards
sit down
here?
here, we
Okay.
haven't had a workshop to
Yeah.
No,
Is it been-
I missed only one you had.
I don't ever remember one.
No, I don't think we ever did.
Okay, well, we have had them in the past. I had them every month for the first year and a half I was here.
No, we had some, but I think the general, I mean, I know, yeah, the
And
composition
we
was.
sit down here and it's just very informal. We have a discussion about various policy directions or changes to the LDRs that have come up that would have a bigger impact than just regular changes.
Okay.
And there are a couple of topic items that we probably need to bring forward at some point, especially if after next Thursday, the commission prioritizes some various directions to staff to bring back some changes in regard to something that may affect LDRs. They're doing a priorities discussion next Thursday.
Do I have can I ask for, just opinion consensus? I mean, am I barking up the wrong tree here because of how many of these small lots we have? Is this something that we want to possibly look at, maybe making a recommendation to change it and be just changing 1 or 2 words?
To require the 25 footer
What's that?
to make it basically 25 non-conforming.
To make it, if you have 2 25-foot lots, then you would not be able to build on both of
See,
them. if
here's
they're-
my
if they're
problem with
contiguous.
that. We just started that. When our city was established and platted, is that the right word? Okay. You were given this 25-foot lot in a lottery.
Right.
We're the Historic Preservation Board. I believe the 25-foot lots are part of our city's history.
Mhm.
And they should be preserved. So if I own 2, 3, 6 contiguous 25-foot lots, as a board member would encourage something if they wish to on each individual 25-foot lot, or if it's one stuck on F Street or D Street or A Street, because that is that core of our city. That's the history of the city.
Yeah, but I hear you, but those that were built back then, those houses were like 700 square feet. Now they're trying to
Right.
squeeze in 3 bedrooms.
And then maybe we need to address that. I mean, they were built as weekend cottages, and now there is a tiny home phase and all of that.
And
So-
now it's complete families. It's not a retiree or vacation.
See, and that's something that could be addressed.
We may have a problem that we allow too much construction from a volumetric standpoint
Correct.
on a 25-foot lot. And that is something that we
That's a
created these-
workshop thing.
Yes.
Well, that needs to be addressed right away because they keep building those warehouses on 25-foot lots there. That's why we didn't like it in this presentation.
Yes.
I won't vote for anything like that. So something else has to come up.
Your code does, I mean,
The code addresses it.
it has to have variety and rhythm, and we don't recommend or even encourage in any way identical constructions of the same building. The boards even had problems even before you were on here, where we had the same developer trying to build the same house on 3 different lots in the general vicinity, and the board encouraged and make them look a little different because we don't have identical houses or replication houses or repeat houses happening in Lake Forest Beach. And it's amazing how creative you can get on a 25 lot.
It is. They had a competition like 20 years when I first moved here 25, 30 years ago with ideas on at Breeze, and it was way back then. Unique things that could be built on the 25-foot lot.
That's what led to the 25-foot lot design guidelines, which were never adopted.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, because not a month ago or whatever, we approved expansion on a 25-foot lot where we did the variance that allowed building at the back of the lot. There's creative ways of, I don't think getting rid of 25-foot lots or encouraging getting rid of 25-foot lots is the solution. I think that we can look at more creative ways of configuring those lots, and maybe if we have to look at the LDRs to see like if the massing's too much or there's not big enough setbacks, because we talked about not having access front and back, different things like that, we can look at that stuff. But I think that there's a real place for the 25-foot lots, especially in this city. So that's just my 2 cents worth. But
Ms. Fox, I haven't heard you say anything about this. What do you think?
Well, I like the way that we didn't do the barracks thing, but from what I've read, you bought a 5-acre plot and they gave you the 25-foot lot. And it's, people are moving in and want to bring their families in and they're stuck on a 25-foot lot. How are we going to deal with that?
Well, we've been dealing with it since 1912.
Yeah, but we don't want to see that big thing from the street.
No, then that's something that as a board and staff, we would have to address where, mass density, we're the historic board, got to figure it out. And actually, if you drive up some of these streets, there are some unique properties on 25-foot lots.
Yes, there are. Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful ones.
So how do we determine it as a board and go forward with something like that? But that's not something we're going to solve tonight because I'm tired.
No, I just wanted to just get everybody's opinion on.
On the positive side, your design guidelines and the form-based components that are in the code are on your side.
Right.
I mean, I don't think whether it's 2 25-foot lots next to each other or 7 next to each other, your guidelines support having the same or even 2 of the same buildings replicated in a row.
Right. Correct.
But we're talking. We're talking.
When you guys saw the case that you recommended, basically redesign on denial.
Right.
And then they want to come back and redesign, on that one, staff recommended denial. And you all recommended denial because it was not consistent with the design guidelines, the massing, it was not appropriate.
Now, those are 25-foot lots. Those are not a conversion from 250 to 425.
No, it's a 100-foot parcel that used to have a single-family home and a detached garage. And the single-family home and garage are no longer there. So the man has now a 100-foot frontage lot that was originally platted as 4 25-foot lots. So therefore, because
but at one point they converted that to 100-foot lot.
They built on, they made it a parcel.
But it's still individual.
Correct.
Platted 25-foot lots.
So I mean, technically, the was a house on there was crossing lot lines.
Maybe that is what it boils down to. If somebody makes a parcel out of non-conforming lots, why doesn't that automatically become that lot? And then if they wanted to subdivide it. No, but if they wanted to subdivide that 100-foot back, it would then be subdivided.
Well, that's getting back to the non-conformity.
No, now you're not.
That's where we're changing. If you would like to move forward with some kind of change of this language, we would discuss proposing that.
See, when I looked at that, a particular project that had 4 identical and it looked like Quonset huts almost from the air and things like that. Okay, that was one thing. Well, the reason that looks like that is because somebody is building on 4 25-foot lots. It's not like they're doing an infill, because then we look at the streetscape and we see, okay, well, this is on 25-foot lot, but the one next to it is a 50-foot lot with a 2-story house. And this one over here, they've got 2 more lots that are 25s and single story. And so it fits in. But when you take 4 of them and then push the criteria that we've got on them, they're going to look alike to some extent. They're going to, you can only do so much on 25-foot lot and make it that big.
But you look at it, the system worked. They didn't. The system worked because we didn't let them.
But not for the reason that I'm looking at it now. In other words, we were brought this project and we turned it down. I have real reservations on taking 100-foot lot and taking a 100-foot parcel and bringing it back to 4 non-conforming lots. That's my issue.
Well, I don't think it was brought back because it was existed.
What they're saying is that it
Did it
exists.
not start out as
That
25?
25, the person that built that house built on 4 individual platted lots, right? And the city allowed them to build 1 single family home.
Probably encouraged it.
But they never got,
The only thing is, okay. It's platted at 25. What you're telling us that the person who had that single family home there did not convert it to 1 lot.
Right.
And that would have required back then a replat to make it 100-foot lot.
Yes.
So he kept it, it's still kept it, but you're allowed to build on it.
Because that's an
As one
entitlement, right?
parcel.
That's like a property right.
Sure.
You could build like that.
I understand.
Individual platted
And
lots.
so the property appraiser, because the property appraiser gives you a parcel boundary for taxing purposes,
Right.
they can't remove your underlying property right. That's a taking. So they can't take away your right to develop your property
Okay. But
by
Yeah.
taxing you.
But in our
essentially.
LDRs, we at some point said, okay, 25-foot lots are no longer conforming.
Except if you have them, you can use them.
Right, but they're no longer conforming. So,
The whole city's non-conforming. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean you can't use any piece of property in the entire
Okay.
city.
all right.
So a non-conformity is a way to vest and capture in time that. So like, for example, when we bring a commercial project back and they want to renovate the building, we don't make them tear down the portion of the building and it has a non-conforming setback. You can, if it's destroyed and you destroy it up to a certain point greater than 50%, then you have to rebuild it in conformance with the code. But if so, you know what I mean? There's huge numbers of buildings that would be required to be vacant and be torn down. Every non-conformity in the city, you couldn't use. So non-conforming is not a bad thing. It is something, this was approved before the rules are as they are. So you can continue, and the whole non-conforming section outlines how do your non-conformities, how do you continue to use your non-conformities, and when does your non-conformity run out? And usually that involves the destruction of, for lots it's different, but usually for non-conforming structures, that involves the structures destroyed more than 50%.
Okay.
And this body never before denied somebody that had platted 25-foot lots.
You all just did. You did it in because it was not consistent.
No,
with
I'm
the
saying somebody that wanted to build on 4 lots, let's suppose. Let's not use even this one, just 4 25-foot lots. But had 1 home and 5 years ago said, I want to put 4 on those 25 platted lots.
So I'll go back to our attorney here, but I would just say, this says that you can build on a 25-foot lot. And if you all said it's in conformance with all the other rules, except that you don't like 25-foot lots, we would not be in a great position when it eventually made its way to circuit court.
See, but how would this board, let's just say hypothetically, somebody came in front of this board and they said, okay, I've got the right to build on these 4 non-conforming lots.
Right.
In an area that's already slam packed with cars and there's no parking and anything else. And we can look at them and say, well, we recommend that the smallest lot frontage that you build on is 50 foot. So we would like the board could say, we would like to see you build 2 houses instead of 4.
And they could say,
See,
I appreciate that, but no, thank you, I want my 4.
Okay, so then we could say, well, we don't like the design. I mean, if they meet the design guidelines, do they actually have to come in front of us?
No.
Yes, it's new construction.
in the
Oh,
construction?
you're right. In the historic district, yes.
I mean, technically, wouldn't it be an issue for them to have the larger parcel and building a large building on it and it crossing lot lines, because then it's not meeting setbacks and that type of thing, right?
Normally now we would require them to file a unity of title.
Right,
And
Yeah.
so
We raised those lines.
right.
Okay, so now I have
So-
one more question about, oh, I'm sorry, Steve, go ahead.
So that's what I mean, like, it's not making an argument of saying like, well, they could go build this big, large house on the 4 lots. Or they could come back and do the other way. It's like, well, no, it's more of a problem actually for them to build a larger house than it is for them to build on the legal individual lots.
there's an extra step. They have to, it's not a platting process, but it is a unity of title process that we require them to go through if they were to build a multifamily building.
Right, and then you go to address the parking issue and they're gonna be able to, 100 by 100, say they get 8, 10 units. You got 15 cars now.
Right. No, I mean, but that would fit more on that lot than.
I understand where you're going, but there is a way on a 25-foot lot to put 2 parking spaces and something really awesome for a young family.
Well, we might
maybe
need
3,
We might need to go there, but
you know.
then the last question that I had, one of the issues, the process by which I, as a individual, go and buy a 100-foot lot, and it has a single PCN number.
Doesn't matter what.
And I understand, I'm not there. I want to break it up into 4 PCN numbers that they're already platted. So I want to apply to the county to get these numbers. Do I go to the city first and say, is this okay? And then when I take it to the county, does the county come back to the city and say, do you have a problem with this?
We wish that they did. They don't always. We keep trying to work with them to make sure that they talk to us. But sometimes sales of property happen and they just happen as private sales, you know?
As Aaron has stated, the property appraiser doesn't deal with actual subdivision of land. The property appraiser deals with a parcel identification number to send you a tax bill. So if you own an acre of land and you want 8 tax bills, she will send you 8 tax bills. But if you own an acre of land and you want 1 tax bill, she will send you 1 tax bill.
Okay,
But that's just.
but if it's inside an incorporated municipality and somebody goes and requests that a particular,
Sometimes
PCN.
they coordinate with the municipality.
okay, so what I want to find out is that wouldn't it behoove our staff to say, no, we'd rather see 2 50-foot lots as opposed to, or two 50-foot PCNs?
Doesn't matter what we think.
No, I mean, well,
It's a
does,
property right, is they have a
Okay.
property right.
When we're getting to the semantics of preference, what the law is.
Right.
I think most people would prefer development on a 50-foot lot. However, our code allows you to do a 25-foot lot.
right,
So unless you.
We
wanted to,
have
you know.
tried to encourage the property appraiser's office before they do combinations of lots or even splits of lots or parcels to talk to us. It's been sort of in vain. We have properties that have been split back into combinations of platted lots where the building is on the property line and the eave of the house is hanging over on the property, the neighbor's property, and then it becomes a civil issue.
I think we've actually looked at some of those.
We had a house, I think we had to condemn and tear down because it just was impossible to restore it because it was actually over the property line, part of it. There's a condition over here by the urban arts loss where the mansard roof on the commercial building is dangerously close, if not over the property line for the townhomes. They had to be pulled back a little bit to respect that and they had to fix sort of the end of it. We have a lot of
Encroachments.
fairly odd non-conformities.
So, and you wish in that particular case, you wish that the property appraiser would get in touch with you and ask if you're okay with this particular splitting.
We've had issues where a commercial building was utilized for a specific purpose and had its parking next door. Historic has always been, it meant parking, and all of a sudden, the parking lot, the parking parcel is now split off and somebody wants to develop it. And now we have a business that was conforming, who's no longer conforming because you have no parking.
So let me just clarify that even if the property appraiser reached out to city staff,
Mhm.
that only facilitates the ability for city staff to have a conversation with the property owner. Because the city staff cannot tell the property appraiser whether or not she can issue different PCNs.
I understand. Okay, and that's understood too.
And
But
another example that
do we
we had
wanna-
recently is that property owners have completed sales. And they've gone and they've done a sale and they've just done a legal description and a boundary, and the sale was complete.
Mhm.
Once the sale is complete, the property appraiser then has a duty to tax them separately. And so even though we had to point out, that's great that you sold off this property, but you can't develop it separately because it's a legal platted lot of record. So they sold off half their lot, basically, and then they came in to develop that lot. We had to say, it's not a legal lot. You bought part of somebody else's lot and you didn't do your due diligence. You didn't call the city, you didn't do whatever. So these people had a transaction. Then the property appraiser made the parcel to reflect the transaction, which we said, sorry, you bought somebody's backyard.
Well, I can see,
You know?
I can see that when something comes in front of us that, like similar cases that have come in front of us recently, that this board is not gonna be able to look at them and say, no, we'd rather, instead of four buildings, we'd like to see 2. And, but then staff is gonna say, well, you're not here to,
I mean, you can ask, but you can't base your decision on their answer.
right. But that's not something that we're actually considering. They're bringing forward to us a design that they want to build on their lot. And we can either say yay or nay, but or we can tell them we're going to say nay because we'd rather see you build 2 lots or 2
You
buildings.
cannot say no for that reason. You can say, we like your design, we'd rather see it on 2 lots instead of 4. Or we don't like your design, but.
Well, let's not get into like.
Yeah. Well, it does not meet the criteria.
It does not meet-
It does meet the criteria, but that's
Specifically.
really what you're voting on is, I like your design meets the criteria or it doesn't. You can say, we like your design or we don't like your design, but hey, while you're doing this, would you consider building on 50-foot lots instead of 25-foot lots? But if they say no, and their design meets the criteria, you have to approve it.
So basically, we're just an advisory board.
No, you
No.
No, we're not.
Our qualification
you can't break a law.
Yeah.
You can't independently grant variances that you
Right.
don't, or you can't make the code more restrictive than it is.
Right.
Because you feel like it. The
Yeah.
rules are the rules,
I
and
mean,
they're the rules for everybody.
we can't
So-
prevent them from building on the lot, but we can direct them on how we want them to build it.
Exactly.
You can advise them, yes.
Well, yes,
Well,
but if
yeah.
if we don't approve it, then they can't build it.
Yeah, you just turn
Based
down
on the
an
criteria.
application
Right.
exactly for this reason. I mean.
Tonight, you turned down an application for, so it was a driveway, but
Yeah,
you know.
Same.
so they
It's a
can't build
criteria.
that driveway now because you are a final decision-making authority for certificates of appropriateness. So, but you can't say, I
I don't like
personally
it.
don't like the subdivision
Right.
regulations, so therefore I am going to say, you can't develop your property in accordance with your entitlement under the code to do so.
Got it. All right, I want to thank the board and staff for indulging me in this. It was something that stuck out. It's been eating at me for a while, and I wanted to discuss it.
Thank you for
But
bringing that.
thank you very much. And on that note, if there's, we have department reports.
We do not.
Do we have any board member comments? Mr. Pickett,
At the moment.
Mr. Martin?
Nope.
Madam Fox?
No.
I'm good.
If hearing none other, I would like to thank you for doing a great job as, you're the last person on the sinking ship.
Thanks.
Well, you're the captain.
No, you're the captain. You have to jump last. No, I'm only kidding. You're doing, no. Yeah, the restructuring.
And I'll just say to that, we're not the only ones for sure, which is a challenge that probably most cities, especially in South Florida, are facing because of just the volume of construction and interest in development in the region. And, you know, because we all talk who work for local governments, and we're all kind of feeling like we're in this together as collective local government and development professionals. We're all short-staffed, you know. I saw a meme on Facebook or Instagram or some social media thing. It says, "Be nice. The world is short-staffed." So I think that that's where we can leave it.
Well,
It is.
I'll just add for part of the department, we were just doing analysis for FY21. The building division did issue 28% more permits for FY21 than we issued in 20.
That's with COVID.
30%.
With half the staff.
When nobody entered the doors at building department.
But you have to remember
Yes.
that fiscal year 20, they did, it was like 20 to 30% than the
In the
year
year
prior.
Team.
So we're
We're
30%
approaching,
of,
I think, 4,000 permit
It is.
units a year.
I can't tell you how it warms the cockles of my heart to drive down Dixie Highway and see a construction crane finally in Lake Worth over here and over on Lake Avenue. It's like so many, you know, every place else you go into West Palm, there's cranes everywhere, construction going everywhere. We're finally starting to see some there. And it really makes me feel good that we're, you know, building something nice. When people complain about our CRA with all the money that they're doing, our CRA is a budget of what, 4 million? And you got Boynton that's got like 20 million. West Palm Beach is probably around 30 million. More than that.
When you combine the CRA and the UDA,
They've got so, and people are worried about our little CRA trying to do what they can do here. And it's encouraging building and we're finally getting somewhere with it. It's nice to see that some of it is starting to hit the ground and start coming up out of the ground. And to that extent that you're helping that, thank you very much.
And Chip, thank you very much for taking over this meeting tonight.
I had no choice.
I know, but you did a good job.
Well, thank you very much. And if I entertain a motion to adjourn,
Motion to adjourn.